this little boy again.
Behold the finished article, the lesser-bearded binocular man. But what twists and turns of life made Bill Oddie into a goodie and a bird watcher? How do we all learn? How do we choose a career? That's what the making of is all about. This week it's the making of Bill Oddie. But later we'll look at how someone like you could make it into the business of wildlife and conservation. And how could tonight's learning zone help you become whatever you want, or even change you onto a slightly different path that you'd never thought of before? But first, to a forest in the heart of England.
All this week, I shall be examining the making of me. Ooh, frightening prospect. Which rather begs the question, what am I? Don't answer that, I will. I suppose ex-goodie, I'm frequently called, and yes, I've spent a lot of my life writing comedy scripts, acting in comedy scripts, even doing hit records and things like that. Show business, I suppose you call that. I'm also a very amateur drummer and musician in general, but at least I can play quietly. That's the main attribute of a good drummer, know when to shut up. But nowadays, I suppose, well, I didn't say this, somebody else called me Britain's best known bird watcher. So I better go with that one as well, haven't I? And how did I get to be that? I was born in Rochdale in Lancashire in 1941, survived what was left of the war, obviously. I was an only child, and then, to be honest, without sounding a bit maudlin, a rather weird thing happened, because my mother didn't really bring me up. She's dead now, so she listens to this. Well, she's up there listening, so it doesn't matter. And I will never really know what happened. I just know my mother didn't bring me up. She kind of disappeared out of my life. And my only memory, and this is going to sound awfully dramatic, memories, there's only about 2 or 3 of them, are the evidence that she had paid a visit to my dad and basically tried to kill him. I remember coming home and everything in the house was smashed and there was white porcelain all over the place. Looked as though it was the end of a revelry at a Greek restaurant, except it was all covered in Dad's blood. So that's a good memory, isn't it? I was a juvenile delinquent. When I was about 7 or 8, I started collecting birds' eggs, but then every schoolboy did in those days, sort of late 1940s. Honestly, we all did it. But fortunately, by the time I was 9 or 10 even, I'd stopped doing that and I got far more interested in the birds, and I got my dad buy me a pair of binoculars and a bird book, told him which ones to get. Oh, that is fantastic. Now, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. I never stopped bird watching, and even when I was doing radio shows, TV shows, the goodies, all that sort of thing, the bird watching was going along all the time. And I suppose in the 80s it was like the show business stuff took a bit of a dive and the bird watching came back up, and so they've sort of crossed over. So now I'm the bird watcher. In Rochdale I went to the local primary school. Then we moved to the edge of Birmingham, Dad's job, and I went to local primary school again. And a really rather weird thing happened, because they bunged me in for the 11 plus when I was actually only 9. Not because I was amazingly clever, but they were testing the system, I think, to see whether the exam was tough enough, and it obviously wasn't, because I passed and so did a couple of other kids. This meant that I went to grammar school when I was a year and a half younger than everybody else. I went to Halesowen Grammar School, a year and a half younger than everyone else there, which was terrible for me because I was very small anyway. That makes a big difference. I mean, I remember doing hurdles races, and I had to sort of run underneath the hurdles. I couldn't get over these damn things, and and sprinting or something like that, you were a second slower and all that kind of thing. And I was quite relieved in a way when my dad said that I was going to take the exam for one of the top schools in, I was going to say in Birmingham, in the country, and still is, King Edward School, Birmingham. I went there when I was about 12, I think, 12, 13. And that's where I really think of as my formative years occurred. Everything I am still interested in, everything that's taken me through life, I reckon those enthusiasms were really cemented. They may not have begun, but they were really cemented at King Edward's School, Birmingham. Goodies! Goodies! And bass line, boom, 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 drums, do the funky gibbon bomb. You knew what that was, didn't you? The undoubtedly biggest regret in my life is that I never learnt to either read or write music. On the other hand, it didn't stop me composing music, as long as we stretch the definition of what music is. Wrote hundreds of songs. Main instrument was tape recorder. And so by the time I was about 15 or 16, I finally got into doing what I really wanted to do. As far as I wanted to do anything academically, I was quite perfectly good at it. I got huge marks at, sounds totally immodest, but I got 90-odd% in A-level and S-level and English and history. Failed French because I wasn't interested. And all I really wanted to do was listen to jazz, go bird watching and play rugby. And that's precisely what I did do in my last year at school until they finally got rid of me and I got sent off to university. Well, I say sent off, obviously I got myself a place at the university at Cambridge as well. I'm sounding embarrassed about this. Even as I speak, I'm aware of that because it does sound sort of big-headed, really. But oh gosh, you went to Cambridge, you know. People were in awe of that, which was ridiculous, really. Because I don't know. Again, I think I just had a facility for getting through the exams and the interviews that I had to do, and so I went to Cambridge in 1960. Something like that. Somebody at the door now, so I'm going to stop there for a moment.